no Jedi.
Your powers are weak, old man.
Always remember, your focus determines your reality.
Hello there.
General Kenobi! You don't know the power of the dark side.
Hello and welcome back to the Disciples of the Force podcast. It's been a couple of weeks. We took a couple weeks off. Spencer's in a bit of transition in his life. He's moving up north to northern Utah, and there just hasn't been a lot of Star Wars content. So we're glad to be back. Again, while this content isn't coming out, we're just going to cover some older lore topics, some things that we want to talk about. So please drop your suggestions. If you're listening, let us know what you want to hear. No real news, Spencer. We are 2 weeks away as of today from Ahsoka, which will be exciting.
So when it drops, is it going to be midnight as of Wednesday going into Thursday with midnight Thursday?
Wednesday going into Thursday.
Okay,
so it won't be midnight. I think it's 1 or 2. I can't remember.
Okay, 1 or 2. Do they do it off of West Coast? Do you know? Is it because it'll be 12
I believe it's off of West Coast. I can't remember. I haven't been staying up late to watch any of this other stuff that's coming out.
Yeah, I kind of just watch them the next day because it's easier.
Yeah. Another bit of news going along with that. I said there wasn't any news.
So you lied to my face.
I lied to you. The Disney VFX artists voted to unionize the other day.
Oh, nice.
Which is huge news for projects like Star Wars and Marvel.
So what does unionize mean?
So it just means that they'll be represented and they'll have better rights and better working conditions, better timelines and things like that.
Good.
So ideally would lead to a better overall product in terms of VFX, which I'm super grateful for. Yeah. Because it's gotten to a point for me where every Marvel thing that comes out, every trailer that I see just looks awful. Yeah. So I'm really excited for that.
Yeah, no, I guess that makes sense. Because, if they give them better time, because from what I've heard is like they give them a timeline that's so short that we just get crappy visual effects. So they can push it back to be, okay, nice.
Exactly. And as it works right now, they bill them per shot, I believe. So the VFX artists are contracted out to Disney, and they say, we need you to do VFX on 200 shots in this film. Jeez. But then there's no indication of the difficulty of each shot. So one shot could be like moving some hairs that are out of place, removing them, like just a quick Photoshop job. And then another shot that's billed for the equal or for the same amount could be, adding 20 VFX characters with all different textures and colors and things like that. So maybe a union would make things like that different. We'll see.
Sweet. Okay, well, that's huge. I didn't know that at all. That's awesome.
Yeah. And this is all amidst the SAG after a strike, which is still going on. I think they were supposed to come to the table again on last Friday. I can't remember. I didn't hear anything about it. But anyway, a lot of stuff is shaken up in Hollywood. So
it's good. Give us better quality stuff. But not only that, help the freaking actors to make a living.
Exactly.
Doing stuff.
So,
well, that's awesome. If you can't tell, we are in person this time.
Sure.
If we keep looking up. That's why we usually do it online. But hey, we're here to be together, and this will probably be the future of our podcast. We're planning on making this cute little studio and go from there. It'll be awesome.
Can't wait. Yeah. So next week, you're still going to be in Cedar.
I'll still be in Cedar.
But then the next week, it should be in person.
Yeah, after that.
From there indefinitely. So
yeah. And we're going to try to do we decide we're going to do weekly?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it depends. Again, like when Ahsoka ends, we'll see. But I don't know.
Yeah, it's just difficult because, there's a lot of topics. But the problem is we only have 2 brains. So if we need people to tell us what they want to hear.
Give us some suggestions. Because we have a plan to research some more and talk more about stuff. But if it's stuff that our listeners don't want to hear, we don't want to talk about it.
Exactly. So. With that as well, hopefully it'll be more consistent. It's just been with me getting a new job and planning on moving. It has been crazy to just set aside some time. But now got a job secured up here, so we'll be good. We're looking good.
Good.
With that, I was going to say something else, but I can't recall. Oh, I was going to say we were talking about visual effects. I started Game of Thrones, I was telling you before. Cool. The visual effects in that is amazing. And I'm like, this is how I remember, like, movies being, and because I can't remember when that came out, it was 2000 what?
I think the first season was probably like 2010.
Yeah.
Like it's let me fact check that, but
Yeah, because it was in a time period where like people were taking their time and they weren't rushed by studios, and so I am curious to see as this goes on to see how bad it gets. Because like there was a shot with this wolf that they CGI'd, and it looks I couldn't tell. Like I mean I could tell it was not real because it's like that's a wolf. There's
Yeah.
no way like it was a huge wolf, not like a teeny one that we have. And, like its mannerisms, like it moved, like slight movement looked amazing. So
yeah.
what does it say? When did it come out?
2011 and then ended in 2019.
Yeah.
So
I'm curious to see as it keeps going on because, you know, it gives me hope that we can get back to that, especially with what you just said. So that'll be awesome for Star Wars, you know?
yeah, there's always that meme floating around where it's like VFX in 2006, and it's like Davy Jones in Pirates of the Caribbean and the Transformers and things like that, which aged incredibly well. It was just a totally different world back then. And so, yeah, hopefully we can get back to that.
Yeah.
We'll see.
I mean, they just want to push out these projects, but I'm fine to wait. Shoot, I'll wait 7 years if I'm going to get amazing
Seriously
content. Like, yeah, let's do it.
Well, that's another thing. I haven't heard updates on Andor, but last I had heard, Gareth Edwards. Wait, no. Gosh, Tony Gilroy. Garth Brooks, yeah. Is it
I don't
Tony Gilroy? Anyway, the showrunner for Andor. Okay, this guy worked on Andor. Tony Gilroy. Gareth Edwards was the director of Rogue One. Okay. Anyway, Tony Gilroy, I believe, or Gareth Edwards, fill in whatever name you want, is the showrunner for Andor on season 2 as well. Because he is bound by the guild, the writing guild, he can't participate in Andor season 2. When the strike first happened, Disney was planning to just continue making season 2 without him. And it's like, if they're doing that, I don't want any part of it. Right. I would much rather have it get pushed back a year, 2 years, whatever. I want a good finished product. So,
So what are they right now? Do they hold off and they're not?
Let's see.
Because that would be crazy if they kept pushing through without the showrunner. It would be probably not as good, I would assume.
He stopped all functions as of May 9th. I'd have to do some more research to see what they said, but
we'll look into it.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, that's good to know. Just some of the world of what's going on right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, like we said, we're gonna get a studio, so it's gonna be nice. It's gonna look pretty, and we're not gonna look so janky in our things. We'll probably have set cameras so we can look a little bit better. But with that, let's jump into some Star Wars stuff. I know you're reading it, so I'm going to talk about the topic.
Okay.
So we're going to start off with how if someone came up to you, Brent, like never seen any Star Wars movie, what is the way you would have them watch it? Would it be chronological order or release order? And so you're the mastermind, so I'd like to hear you, but did you get an answer to what you were looking for before?
I didn't really read through all of it, but then as I was reading, that news I saw was when the writers were just on strike. But now that the actors are on strike, there's no way they can be going forward.
That's a good point.
So they must have stopped, I'm sure.
Yeah, they have to have. Right. They can't go with no actors.
But this question was actually posed to me probably a year ago. But Forrest texted me and asked because Shayla was getting ready to watch them.
Right.
And I think it's pretty well accepted that you should watch them in release order. That's how I like. You watch A New Hope, Empire, Return of the Jedi, and then you go back and watch Phantom Menace, yada, 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 yada.
Yeah.
Because then I think most people just from popular culture understand or know that Vader is Luke's father. Spoiler alert, if you didn't know. And you're listening to a Star Wars podcast for whatever reason. I think everybody knows that.
Right.
So, but if you don't, that payoff's going to be huge, if you start chronologically
but like
by release.
That's almost impossible to not know that.
Yeah.
I think the only thing, well, go ahead. I'll keep going.
Well, I think ideally if I were to watch it with my wife again, like if she had never seen it, clean slate, I'd do original trilogy, prequel trilogy, then original trilogy again, sprinkle in Rogue One and Solo where they belong, and then the sequel trilogy.
Okay.
Because if you go original prequel sequel, that's still a little jarring.
Yeah.
But if you're willing to put in the time and rewatch some movies, I think that's the best order.
Way. Watch it, do the prequels, hit you back with the original.
Yeah.
Finish the sequels with sprinkling Rogue One and Solo in there.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So when I watched it with Ellie, I had her go through chronological because I was like, I want to see how it'd be because curious of how she would like it.
Chronological by release or by story?
By story.
Okay.
So we started with Phantom Menace and chugged through them. And it, like you're saying, it is jarring when you finish because we went, of course, to Rogue One. So it was prequels, Solo, Rogue One, jumping into New Hope.
Yeah.
It was harder for her to get through that not because it was a bad movie. It's just like so different than the rest. I'm like, maybe we should have gone 4, 5, 6, jump back to 1, 2, 3, and do the rest. But with that being said, she had no idea Palpatine was the Emperor. So like that was a huge reveal to her when that finally came out. Watching.
So an Empire when.
Like, I guess it was like watching all that. She didn't know who this guy was. And then, because I think she'd seen like scenes,
okay,
so she had no idea that was the same dude. So that was cool to watch.
Yeah.
But I think you're right. If anyone was going to ask me, like for example, my nephews or my kids, I'm going to do 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3.
Right.
Because it is jarring to just jump from Rogue One, this crazy action-packed scene with Darth Vader just at the very end to go into it, and then you get that lightsaber battle with him and Obi.
Yeah, it's just there's no way.
It takes you out of it. So I think for sure that's exactly how I would do it as well.
Great point. I'd be interested to hear if anybody had any other ways to watch it. Yeah. I'd watch them all in reverse just for the fun of it, I think.
For the sake of it.
Yeah, go ahead, sorry.
Well, I was going to say, with that, she hated. It's so funny that her, not really a Star Wars fan, did not want to watch the sequels. Like really? And I thought she was going to like them because I'm like, they're newer. They're like, the special effects are amazing. Like, we watched Force Awakens, and then we were halfway through Last Jedi, and she just like, oh, I'm tired. I'm like, oh, she's never said that in any of these movies before. Yeah. She's been in the whole time, so I'm like, So we haven't even finished the rest of them. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow. Here's the thing, though. If you're watching that all at once, the payoff at the end of Return of the Jedi is perfect. You know, you don't need anything after that if you don't want it.
Yeah.
Us as Star Wars fans, of course, we wanted more content and everything. But if you're watching it as a kind of casual and you just want to get the gist of the story, you don't need the sequel trilogy.
No, not at all. Because, like you're saying, Return of the Jedi, that ending, beautiful.
Yeah.
Which leads us into Anakin's Ghost.
Anakin's Ghost. Okay, that's the next topic we were going to talk about. So give us a little bit of a primer for what we're...
Right. So if you know, the original, when it came out in theaters, when at the very end of Return of the Jedi, right, you see Obi-Wan, you see Yoda, and then boom, bada, bing, Anakin Skywalker pops up. In the originals, it's the actor who actually played Darth Vader at the very end. I don't know his name. But through re-release and like this, it was like 20-year celebration. I can't remember. Anniversary. Something.
It might have been right before Phantom. I can't remember.
Around that time period, maybe to get hype or whatever, they did a bunch of edits to a lot of the things. That's the point they CGI'd Jabba the Hutt right into New Hope. He wasn't there at all. They put him in, and then at the very end, you get Hayden Christensen instead of the actor, and a lot of people were pissed.
Yeah.
Like with the ending of with the Force Ghost, and then you see Anakin Skywalker as Hayden Christensen. So that's the debate of why is that existing, and like I guess canonically, why is that a thing? Why can't it be him, right? And before we begin, one of the biggest things that exist, if you didn't know, the biggest reason why these re-releases came out is because George Lucas didn't want to pay his wife. She was getting money from all of the movies. And so if he made enough of changes to all of the originals, if he changed it just enough, then it would qualify as a new movie, kind of like a remake. And so she wouldn't get any of the money for those things.
Yeah.
So that's why that was one of the biggest factors of why he went through and added all these things, all these special effects, that being one of them. So apart from just that reason existing, and maybe to get hype for the prequels and stuff like that. But anyways, what do you got?
Well, it's hard to say. I think if I were a fan that grew up with the original trilogy, I would be very upset. Because why have a young Anakin there but an old Obi-Wan? Like, what's the logic in the canon? My personal belief is that's when Anakin was like at his strongest in the light, and then so that's why he would manifest that way as a Force ghost, as Hayden Christensen Anakin. But then you have Obi-Wan, who certainly wasn't at his highest point. Well, maybe I don't know. When he died on the Death Star, was he stronger in the Force than during the Clone Wars? Well, wait, actually he was.
Yeah, because I mean, a physical mobility, right?
Yeah,
his like fighting skills definitely higher then, but with the Force, I would say he's higher when he was close to the end.
Yeah, but then it was kind of, that's one good thing about Kenobi, Obi-Wan Kenobi, the series, is it explained that Qui-Gon had to instruct Obi-Wan how to become a Force ghost.
Right.
So he wouldn't have known that. But then that brings it back to how did Anakin, well, I guess Darth Vader and the Sith in general study a lot. So Darth Vader maybe would have known how to achieve an embodied spirit after his death. I don't know. What's your personal belief? What do you think? I'm really confusing myself. I'm going around in circles.
Yeah. So from what I learned when I first dove into this, also there is a very good article by Screen Rant called "Star Wars: How Anakin Knew How to Become a Force Ghost."
Okay, cool.
Dives into this. I didn't finish reading it, and I wish I did. Maybe we can take a poke at it. It's a really short read. If you want to hop on it.
Yeah, let's do it.
But like you were saying, like it's when he was the purest. Because to be a Force ghost, you have to be in the light side of it. You can't be a dark. Like there's no dark side Force ghost.
Well, it's hard to say. There are disembodied spirits because in the Clone Wars we see Darth Bane appear to Yoda or somebody. You remember that episode?
It's towards the end, right?
Yeah. Darth Bane appears to somebody as himself.
Yes, it is Darth
But
Bane.
it's not the same kind of Force ghost at all. And there's also, in the Darth Vader comic book series, there's that Sith who shows up when Darth Vader's like messing with his helmet. I wish I could remember names. Anyway.
Hey, remember, we're not amazing Star Wars podcasters. We suck at names.
We've been off for a while.
Yeah.
But so that shows that Force or that Sith can be spirits, but not Force ghosts. Screen Rant also has an article here. Star Wars confirms that Sith spirits are not Force ghosts.
Right, so there's not the same thing.
Not the same thing, but they can still appear to people, I guess. But we can read the other how Anakin knew.
Well, maybe it's like an evil spirit and a good spirit. You just have to if they ask you to see his hand.
Shake,
Shake your hand.
Jeez.
Such a niche joke.
Yeah. We have some people, most of our listeners might understand.
That's probably true, actually. Anyways. I got embarrassed. That's crazy. So what I heard it was when he was the purest. But then again, I think you could debate that at the very end it might be the purest, that he'd gone through everything.
Absolutely.
And still chose to come back to the light. That could easily be argued that is the purest.
That's what I believe.
Yeah.
On his deathbed, he was more purely back to the light than he was
when he was
midway through episode 3.
Absolutely. Yeah, 100%, because he's gone through all that to still choose to go back. Know he's top of it all. And
whereas episode 3, he's like looking for reasons to turn to the dark side.
Trying to get out.
I don't know, man.
That does poke a big hole in what I thought as well. So now I'm confused with myself because I did believe that as well. And I wish I would have just finished this stupid article.
Okay, well, let's read it, right? Okay. And then we can kind of talk about it. Guys, if you are listening, if you're not driving or anything, you can pull up this article and read along with us.
No, if you're driving, go ahead and do it.
Yeah, sure. If not, if you don't want to read along, just bear with us here while we read. It looks like 4 or 5 paragraphs here.
Yeah, it's short. Also, real quick, I've missed this.
I know. This is nice.
It's been so long.
This is so nice.
All right. You're a better reader than I am.
Should we start from the top? Or is that like an introduction?
That's an introduction. I think we can jump right into the years later.
Okay.
Because I think it just talks about, it's just explaining. Yeah, so go for it.
Okay, so George Lucas went a few years back into the Star Wars timeline to explore the backstory of Anakin Skywalker / Darth Vader in a prequel trilogy. Through it, viewers followed Anakin from his days as a young slave on Tatooine. Let's see.
No, we can skip through this, actually, you're right.
We all know that, right?
Yeah, because it just basically gives you the synopsis of what
Yeah.
happened in the prequel,
So-
and then it ends with a question of how did he become a Force Ghost.
Yeah, okay, there we go.
Cool.
Force ghosts are those beings who gained immortality through the preservation of their consciousness after death, and through special training, these deceased Force sensitives could retain their identity and thus communicate with the living, as Yoda did with Luke, and later Luke with Rey. This could only be learned by those who fully embrace the light side of the Force, which is why the Sith couldn't achieve this. Qui-Gon Jinn learned it from a shaman of the Wills. That was our original name.
Should've
Guardians of
stuck
the
with
Wills
it,
or
dude. It
whatever. I
would have
know.
been a great reveal right there.
Would have been great. But didn't complete his training before his death, so he could only manifest as a disembodied voice. He was able to complete his training in death, which is how he was able to appear to Obi-Wan Kenobi, who later learned how to become a Force ghost. Yoda also learned how to retain his identity after death, but unlike all of them, Anakin didn't have the training as he turned to the dark side, and as Darth Vader, he couldn't have learned how to become a Force ghost. Interesting.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Interesting.
Because that's right. All these people took time
Yeah.
to be taught by others, and he just
I just, like, Darth Vader was always meditating. So
Yeah,
I
so-
thought maybe that was him communing, but it's with the dark side of the Force, so I guess it just wasn't even available to him.
But I think you could also argue that he did learn a lot. Like, he learned everything he could.
Yeah.
So maybe he had to learn the light as well with it.
Yeah.
But
Let's see what this
I don't
next
know.
paragraph says. Maybe
let's
they.
jump into it.
Do you want it? You want me to have it?
I'll take it
Okay,
to
you
give
got
you a
it.
break, but please. I've had some butchers on this podcast.
I can read it if you want.
No, I got it. I need to read it myself. Darth Vader's redemption and thus return to the light side as Anakin was the first step in making the Force Ghost process a reality. But what came after that is still being debated among Star Wars fans. In the Star Wars Return of the Jedi DVD commentary, George Lucas said Anakin was able to retain his original identity because of Obi-Wan and Yoda, who learned how to do that, suggesting he received assistance from them after he died, thus granting him the last step in becoming a Force Ghost. This idea can be found in a now non-canon book, The Rise and Fall of Darth Vader, where right after dying, Anakin is met by Obi-Wan, who tells him he is in the netherworld of the Force, and if he wished to revisit
Corporeal
space, he had one thing left to teach him. So in canon, however, there are a couple of theories on how Anakin was able to become a Force Ghost. Perhaps the most popular and accepted one is that of the Force priestesses teaching Anakin how to do it, meaning he knew how to become a Force Ghost before he turned to the dark side, while others believe that his redemption was enough for him to be able to retain his identity unless new canon media, whether a TV show or book, expands on this and gives us a definitive answer. How Anakin Skywalker knew how to become a Force Ghost in Star Wars Return of the Jedi will continue to be up for debate, with fans taking the explanation they think makes more sense within the whole context of the Skywalker saga.
Okay. That's us right now.
That's us right now in this moment. I think, well, let's see. In canon, so if the canon of him being taught by the Force priestesses, I guess that's the biggest. Like, if that's canon, like it says, then that's the answer.
I mean, that makes sense to me. Anakin knowing it before.
And that is that the reason why he appears as young Anakin is because he learned it before. I think would make the most sense.
Yeah, that totally makes sense to me.
Yeah, I think as well to me that if he learned that when he was young, he learned how to do it when he died as old. Maybe I guess channeling that energy of when he was a kid and that moment is what brought him in that age. I don't know. That's confusing.
Maybe you get to pick. Maybe it's just that simple. You just get to decide.
If he got to pick, then he picked right, and Obi-Wan's an
Yeah.
idiot.
Yeah, Obi-Wan's a moron.
It could be sexy Ian McGregor, Sir Alligator.
That does bring up an interesting point, though, to that theory. We see Obi-Wan as young or as old Ewan McGregor,
Right.
50-year-old, whatever. When he meets Qui-Gon Jinn, did it take him until he turned into Alec Guinness to learn? I don't know.
That's a good point as well, because if you're going off of when you learn, you get it. You're right. I'm sure it would have been pretty. I think it would have been relatively after that he would have learned.
Yeah, it would have taken some time.
But then again, you could go into maybe it is just the choice that they make at the end.
It's so funny, dude, because could you imagine if he replaced Alec Guinness with Ewan McGregor's Force Ghost?
Yeah.
And then replaced Puppet Yoda with CGI Yoda?
Right.
Totally could have done that.
Which would that have been the better move, just to do a clean all three of them?
You know, I really love just seeing Hayden Christensen there, just with that smile. I think it's perfect. And Luke saw his father as like this old, decrepit damaged man.
Right.
So it's cool to see him as like more like this is getting weird. Maybe. Just maybe. No, that wouldn't work. I was gonna say maybe Luke sees him how he chooses to see him,
Right.
but he wouldn't know what his dad looked like.
But then again, what I'm thinking is maybe it's what they choose to show in the moment, because maybe he could just be anytime they want. I don't know. Maybe he chose to show him in that form.
Yeah.
If you go into like a religious way,
Yeah.
it's like, I don't know. Because I mean, this isn't canon what we're saying. This is all speculation at this point. If I guess we could just figure out if you can make it a choice. It would make perfect sense for him to show him when he was younger. If Anakin can show, like, this is what I want Luke to see.
Yeah, this is how I want you to remember me.
That makes a lot of sense, because it's like, this, you never saw me, but this is when I was the best, you know?
Right.
Damn. Hey, please give us what you think. Send us comments below on YouTube. Email us at disciplesoftheforce@gmail.com, because genuinely, I'm now lost. I felt good coming into this, and now I think I'm confused.
I'm looking at other sources here. Okay. I don't know.
Well, and I think at the end of it all, for me as someone who grew up with it, with the prequels and stuff, it's perfect. I love it being.
Yeah, I think
Hayden
it's great.
Christensen. It's like the perfect way to end. Right there. Take away the sequels, like that is perfect.
And honestly, if you grew up with the original trilogy, you've still got to kind of like it more than the alternative. This guy had 3 minutes of screen time,
Just when he takes off
and he was covered in makeup, didn't have eyebrows, and then we see him like totally done up and normal.
Yeah.
It's like, is that really the payoff we want? I think it's a great move by George, and I don't think he needs any freaking explanation
You're
for
right.
canon.
Why are we talking about this? No, I think you're right. I honestly, personally, it's the right move.
Yeah, easy.
Because I don't know, it's just like that ending is just so powerful. You know, the little smirk, and then the
Right.
it just ends right. I don't know. I mean, yeah, because you have that's the other thing, like you're saying. Think about what you're seeing at that screen. You're seeing Obi-Wan, who you've seen the screen time the whole time in the original trilogy. Yoda, you've seen him for all these. Had tons of screen time.
Right.
Putting this dude in that had 3 minutes is a little weird. Putting Hayden Christensen in makes tons of sense.
You've grown up with the guy.
Right, and he's got tons of screen time.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it correlates perfectly. But that being said, I'm sure old people are mad. Freaking boomers, dude. I'm just kidding.
Boomers.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think we covered that. Please, guys, give us your thoughts. What you think? Do you think it was a good idea to put Hayden Christensen in there? And do you have any explanation for why in canon?
Right.
Maybe not in canon, but in universe, your idea of why that works.
Because, yeah, I would love to hear it. Maybe it's in another book that I haven't gotten to.
I mean, yeah, you and I haven't read any of the novelizations of these movies, so maybe it's cleared up in there somehow.
Yeah, and I'm actually, so right halfway through my Tiger Woods book. So I just finished Thrawn. I know it's been a bit. Finished Thrawn. If I'm going to give you a quick ranking, just a sidestep.
Sure.
I remembered the names of the books after.
Okay.
It's Alliance, Treason, and...
Ascendancy, right?
Yeah, that sounds right. Which one's the first one?
The first one is just Thrawn.
Yeah, and I think it's Alliance. You're right. I think Alliance is the second one, because that would make sense, because Hayden Christensen, Anakin's in it.
Okay, cool.
So I think I can just look real quick. Anyways,
Wait, did you read the canon ones or the non-canon ones?
canon ones. So these are the ones that came in after.
Okay, cool. Because this one that I just started is canon.
Canon, right?
The
So
current
so
ones. Okay.
this quick thing is, like, if you didn't know, there was 3 books made by the same author that was Heir to the Empire. All those books that took place, I think, from what I remember, is after 6, before 4.
I wouldn't know. My boy Tim would know. He's
Tim,
listening.
let us know.
Yeah, Tim, let us know.
So then once the Disney acquisition happened, they kicked out all those books and said they're not canon, which is the right move to make.
Yeah,
you're
you
starting
got to
from
clear
scratch.
things up.
They contract Timothy Zahn, is his name?
Yes.
They contact him to rewrite the books and write them for before 4, 5, and 6. After 3. So yeah. Anyways, second. What are the titles of these stupid books? Not stupid. They're good.
Yeah.
Battles of Thrawn books. Because I want to get the second name right. Dun, dun, dun. Yeah, Austin, you just started that one, right?
Yeah, I'm like just a few chapters in. I love it. Freaking the way they find Thrawn
Yeah,
and the
isn't it
way
so good?
so cool.
It's really like you're like the whole time you're very intrigued. So
Also, while you're finding that, his first meeting with the Emperor,
good.
so cool.
So good.
I'm excited to see where it goes.
And I mean, you're reading it, so that's for me. I can't read like we talked about.
Sure.
I'm illiterate. The audio of it is so cool because when he's in his chamber, it's like that little woo like in the background, and then the guy who does the reading for the book does an amazing Palpatine like Emperor.
Really?
Yeah, his impression. I was like, I thought it was freaking what's his name?
Ian McDiarmid?
Yeah, it's not, of course. Or
Dude, not McDiarmid. What
it's
the frick?
Pe-
Yeah, McDiarmid. Dude,
Yeah.
my names are on today. I'm thinking they're off. What the heck?
Yeah, so he does amazing. So that whole like interaction's crazy. But if I had to like rank them with what I would do, it would go alliances, which is when I keep on saying Anakin comes up, and then I would do the original Star Wars Thrawn book, and the last one treason. I don't know why, and maybe it was just the point of my life. Like those two books I cranked out in a week each.
Yeah.
Listened to them all in a week, and I was like, oh, I'm ready for the third one. Hit a wall halfway through the third one, and I said, I don't know.
Yeah.
So, anyways, I would like to hear your thoughts of how you rank them when you're done.
Okay, well, it might take. Maybe I should listen to him. I decided I need to start reading more.
Right.
Here's what happened.
Let's hear
You
it.
made fun of me for reading that one book for forever. So
It's just
Grace,
a rude move. I don't know why I did that. I'm sorry.
I know,
don't know why I
it's
do
awesome.
things.
Grace and I go to Barnes and Noble, and I'm like, Grace, when I was like 14, I decided I didn't like fiction books. I didn't like imagination. Having to use my imagination. I liked history books and biographies, whatever.
Nerd.
And that's what I've read for 10 years is just like my most recent book that I read before this, or well, not before this, because I read another book in between because I'm reading again. Anyway, the most recent like nonfiction book I read was Obama's A Promised Land.
It's my next
Great book, by the way.
Can't wait to read it.
But that took me a while and I had to listen to it. I picked up this book called Stories of Your Life and Others, which is what the movie Arrival is based on.
Right. You said you cranked through it,
Dude,
didn't you?
like 4 days, I read the whole thing.
That's awesome.
And I was like, dude, I just love fiction, I guess. I thought I didn't, but this is what gets me reading. So I've been reading this one actually, but now I'm like, should I listen to it and read it? Because that's one thing I liked about some of the High Republic books I listened to is like the sound effects and everything.
Yeah,
and the voice
they
actors are
kill
great.
it. So, I mean, I think for your goal, I say you just read it. I mean, maybe listen to it later.
Yeah, that's true.
I think there's parts I wish I was reading because I was doing something and I kind of just like fell in the back of my mind and I stopped. Like there's times I had to go back like, oh, this is a big part. But there's other times I was like, that was kind of a little thing. Nothing really big happened. So I was like, I'm not going to go back and worry about it. So sometimes I wish I did read it. So maybe if you read it and then listened after, it'd probably have a bigger impact.
That's a great point. Maybe I'll do that.
So I think I would you can read. I don't know how to read.
Sure, yeah.
Anyways, so that was my side note. Back to the novelization. I'm going to read those. I think it's from a certain point of view is what they're called.
So there are different ones. So from a certain point of view is very cool. That's a very cool concept. So it takes kind of ancillary characters within the Star Wars universe and tells their story.
Okay.
So for example, I think there's one of the two guys in the cantina that one gets his arm cut off.
Papa Baba.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah.
Pona Baba.
So I think there's a story about him, like his life story is in
really?
that. So it's,
Ponda Baba
it's cool.
something?
But there's also just movie by movie novelizations that are canon.
Well, I can't find them then. Send me the link. I tried to find the canon ones and I'm like, I don't know. I don't think this one's canon.
Maybe they're not. I don't know.
Maybe not. Because Brotherhood isn't canon, is it?
I think it is. Yeah.
Is it canon?
Yeah, that just came out recently, I'm pretty sure.
Did it? Well, it's true. If anything that's come out since the acquisition.
Yeah, since 2012 is canon.
I guess
12?
Oh, I thought it was like 15 in my mind.
Well, maybe they had a delay or something. This
No,
one
I'm
came
sure
out
you're
last
right.
year, so this is super canon.
Oh, well
It's
then cool.
super canon, dude.
Super canon. Okay, I'll get on that. I want to read all those. What was the point of all this? Why did we start talking
I
about
don't
the
know.
novelization? We talked about the novelization because,
Oh, hey, here's an answer.
give it to me.
Apparently, wait, there's conflicting answers. Never mind. We'll have to do some more research on this. One said they're not canon, one said they are. So, whatever.
Canon, what?
The novelizations of each movie.
Oh, each movie. Yeah, because they give like huge detail that
Yeah.
I can get into. We were talking about novelization. It's so funny because you guys are going to be listening to this and be like, oh, you were just talking about that. I have no idea. It's totally past my brain. I have no idea why we brought this up to begin with at all.
The books?
Yeah.
I don't know either.
I don't either. We went down the path.
So you started ranking this,
I started
but we
ranking
were
them because
looking for something else.
Yeah, that was the whole thing. We were looking at something else.
Oh, no, okay.
You got
What
it.
I said, this is going to sound so stupid, and I might be wrong. What I said was neither one of us has read the novelization, so we could be missing something. And then you said on that note, I just finished
Right.
the books.
That's right. And we were talking about maybe the novelization of
Return of the
Return
Jedi.
of the Jedi, I think is what it was. That's exactly
Yeah.
what it was.
Okay.
Hey, we got there.
Great,
Just
we got
took
there.
us forever. Yeah, those are next on my docket. I'm gonna finish this Tiger Woods book. I'm gonna do Sweet Obama's book, and then I'm gonna get into the novelizations.
Perfect.
I've learned in my life I can't go on a streak of the same thing. I need to break it up. Like for example, like TV shows. I was watching Adventure Time, and then I was like, I need to. I said this was like a drama. So like I watched like Better Call Saul, and then I did a regular show, and I'm doing Game of Thrones, and it's like because I can't do like a whole thing of drama or a whole thing of comedy. I need to split it up because I'm like, I don't know, I go crazy.
You should watch Barry next.
Is that a comedy or is it a?
It's kind of both. It's like a drama comedy.
Okay.
It's good. It's pretty
no,
good.
I'm not going to.
Yeah, that's fine.
Just kidding.
Bill Hader. You know Bill
I do
Hader?
love Bill Hader.
He's the director, the writer, the main guy.
But did Jaron recommend it?
Yeah, he did.
I can't.
But Forrest also did. So
Oh,
me and
Forrest
Forrest versus
did? Oh, yeah,
Jaron.
I'll do.
So
Jaron, if you listen to this, I'm joking.
this is one funny thing. Sorry for the tangents. Listeners, I have another podcast called Film Fixation Podcast about film. And we had our first guest star on last night. And when he walked in, Jaron and I briefed him on what we have to do every episode. And one of the things is we have to crack a few jokes at your expense, Spencer's expense. And we're like, it's funny because Spencer doesn't listen to this podcast, but we spend like 5 minutes talking about him every time. So go over and listen to it.
I will. I need to. I sat there the other day because Jaron had texted me about something we had said, and I'm like, dude, I'm such a bad friend. He listens to ours.
I know he
and
listens to
whenever
this one every week.
But I think when I stopped listening to your guys's, technically ours,
Sure. Yeah, you're on it.
on paper.
You're
ours-
getting your paycheck for it. So
Yeah, you're right. Was because you started reviewing movies that I wanted to watch, and I was like, I'm like, they don't do any spoilers, but I'm like, but maybe I want to go in with my own thought of how this movie is, and then listen to what they say. You know
dude,
what I mean?
now that you're moving up here,
We can
it'll be
watch it.
really easy because we can watch them together.
Yeah, exactly. Because then I wouldn't feel bad.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't like because you guys don't do spoilers.
We just saw opening night, and then you wouldn't be able to see it until like the next week. So
Because I'd always wait till Tuesday because I'm a cheapo. I wanted
Sure.
to pay $5 to watch the movie instead of what, $8?
I don't know. Up here, it's 13.
Oh,
Yeah.
dude, saving some money, brother.
Yeah.
And that was the whole reason why I stopped. But I need to start listening because I'm a terrible friend. But then things would come out where you'd review movies that I had seen. I was like, oh, I'll listen to that. And then I was just a bad friend. I didn't.
So you've seen Barbie and you've seen Oppenheimer.
Right.
Both those episodes are out.
Need to watch those. You've done, like, for example, I think you did an old movie.
We did Midsummer.
Yeah, Midsommar.
You saw that right at your
saw that
bachelor
one,
party. Yeah, we've done
Anyways,
it.
we're just plugging
Godfather.
in the podcast right now because I feel bad. So give Film Fixation. It's awesome. New movies coming out, old ones, whatever.
Thanks.
Let's get back to Star Wars.
Yeah,
Sorry, guys.
Sorry, that was a long tangent. That
That
was like
was
a
a long
20-minute tangent. Between the books and the other podcast.
Right. Well, the books were technically.
Yeah, that was it. That was centered.
The
Okay.
next on this list is the Darth Jar Jar, which we've touched in the past.
Yeah,
Do you want to go into that, or you want to go do something else? Because we kind of.
we maybe do something else because I think we beat that horse to death.
We have.
did talk about it, and I fully believe it. I fully believe that theory.
Going like when I first heard it, I said you're crazy. Going back, I'm like, there's a lot of things. I'm like, you know what? One of the biggest ones was the double jump.
Yeah,
I was like, that's got a point.
dude, you play Lego Star Wars. The only characters that double jump: Jedi, Sith, Jar Jar Binks.
So
It's not a coincidence.
think about it. Also, what I do want to do, we gotta watch now that we're together up here, we gotta watch the specials.
Oh yeah, that'd be great.
I want to watch the holiday special.
We'll live stream that one.
Yeah, that'd be fun if we
That'd
live
be
streamed
great.
it. So, anyways, What I was gonna say was the hyper. So this one is a hyperdrive Ram. Do you know what it's referring to? It's about in
the
Last
hold 'em
Jedi?
maneuver. Yeah.
Yeah. Why you were? Because I asked you this question. I don't remember your answer. Why can't they do that every day? Because I do remember in the movie they do explain. They do give
Yeah.
a brief like this can only happen this one time. But do you remember?
It's funny because they don't do
Oh,
that.
they
They
not?
don't acknowledge it in that movie. It's in the next movie
Oh, that
where fans were outraged,
Yeah.
and J.J. Abrams had to try to retcon it, and it's just an Oscar Isaac, or maybe it's not Oscar Isaac. It's somebody in that circle where Oscar Isaac says somehow Palpatine returned.
right.
Same circle.
Is it really
They're
same
like,
time period?
yeah. Why don't we do a hold 'em maneuver? And they're like, everybody knows that was a 1 in a million, a suicide, whatever, you know.
So the explanation is just it was
1 in a
suicide.
million or whatever. So okay, here's the in-universe reason I don't like it.
Okay, let's hear it.
Because if you can just strap a hyperdrive on anything and make it like a super weapon that can destroy an entire fleet,
Yeah.
like it did, why don't you do that every single time?
Absolutely.
Just a bunch of dummy ships with hyperdrives.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you even have to have someone manning it?
No, I don't think so.
You could
I
easily.
mean, in the Star Wars universe, you put a droid on it.
Yeah, and they're not
Yeah.
sentient.
Yeah, they're not sentient. They don't have feelings or anything. You put a droid on it, whatever. I also remember there being something with, I don't know, hyperdrive's weird. I used to know a lot about this when we first talked about it.
Yeah, 'cause I remember you
I have
gave a good
not been
answer.
in Star Wars lore a lot lately. I've been busy.
We've
Okay.
been busy.
But yeah, I just think it's dumb because why don't you do that every time? If it's 1 in a million, why don't you say that at the time? I don't know. And it just felt cheap.
Yeah, it was like. Well, I guess it boils down to the fact of this. The true answer is they just threw it in because they thought it was great writing. There's
Yeah.
not really any lore behind it.
Are you familiar with the term Deus Ex Machina?
I've heard Machina.
So, Deus Ex Machina is an idea in
Is it anime?
no, I think there's maybe
It sounds like an anime. That's why I said it.
it's a term that comes from Latin and from Greek, or from when theaters were just coming up in ancient Greece. Okay,
Okay.
there were a lot of new stories being told, and a lot of times they would present this problem to their character, and one of their gods would just come down and save them. So it was like there'd be this big build up, and then a god would just come out of nowhere and solve everything.
Okay.
So it's a convention in writing, in narratives, where there's just like an unexplained resolution. And it's normally kind of cheap. Deus Ex Machina means god and machine, because they would literally drop the actor dressed as their god, like in this mechanism down, whatever. But it's like, why is there an entire movie about them running from this fleet, like low on fuel? And I get in retrospect, I guess, maybe I'm being too critical. Like maybe at the time, Admiral Holdo or Commander Holdo, whatever her name is, maybe she knew that it was like a 1 in a million shot. But at the same time, she was so sure that it would work, and it worked so well. But it's like, why would you spend all your time running away from this fleet and wasting all this fuel, putting lives in danger,
Right.
this elaborate plot of spies going to this gambling planet, whatever,
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
just to turn around and blow them up anyway,
Right.
when you knew you could have done that the whole time? Yeah, I just don't like it. I can see why.
Well,
I'll look up, unless you've got something.
well, right here, I was looking at one of the explanations for it was that once the speed is reached, the hyperdrive likely opens a small connection into hyperspace and allows a ship to enter the dimension. And after this point, the ship cannot interact with objects in real space unless they are of sufficient mass. So it was because it was in that opening. I don't know. Yeah, that didn't
No,
really.
but that's a great point, because hyperspace is not like I don't like when people say light speed in Star Wars, because I don't think that's what it is. Hyperspace is a different area of space
Right,
that
it's
they're
like-
accessing.
Yeah.
So it's not like she's just going really fast through these things. She's going into a hyperspace lane, and those are established as well. Mm-hmm. It's a whole thing. I don't know.
Because you have to have a hyperspace. You can't just hyperspace anywhere. You have to go to a specific
Yeah.
lane.
Yeah,
That talks about in Rebels. I'm pretty sure, right?
I think so.
because the Purgles. I think it's a whole thing with them.
Let's
But
see.
But to get to the hyperspace lane, you have to go through real space.
Yes, so maybe it was a
And
jump through.
It was the perfect. That maybe there's not a lane is probably the.
Yeah.
Because this guy says not lore breaking with his explanation. So, oh my gosh, dude! So many people are so smart. That is such a long article.
I know.
It is crazy. And I'm not going to read it, but it's awesome that you put that time into it, buddy.
I think it's just done because it upends Star Wars battle strategy. I think that's what it comes down to.
Right, because this is, yeah. Because, I mean, if this was a strategy that they could have used, they'd put. I would assume they would push fleets into a certain position.
Yeah.
Like, okay, they're right in front of the lane. Go for it.
Yeah.
Maybe you can argue people weren't smart enough and it took that long, but that many years for someone to think about it, no shot, I think.
Yeah.
With how long it's been established, I think it would have been known.
Yeah, I just I'm looking for answers here. Like I just think I don't like it for that reason, like you said.
Yeah.
But
Let me go to ChatGPT. They're pretty smart.
I'm looking on Quora right now.
Okay.
These people are pretty smart.
Sorry for the quiet talk. Sorry, I always forget that.
No,
If you're
no,
listening,
no.
it's
I
like-
agree. This cat's saying the same thing as me. That like the whole movie is them running, and then like as soon as she turns around, as soon as she turns the ship around, Holdo, everybody on the Supremacy knows exactly what she's doing. They're like, oh, she's gonna hyperspace ram us, as if it's this established thing,
that's a
which
good
it
point.
shouldn't be.
If it was a one-time.
Yeah.
Oh, we're missing all the sacrifices herself and her ship. Yeah, the reason this tactic worked. Okay, yeah, but I understand why it worked.
Also, why couldn't they do this to the Death Star?
Yeah.
Huh? I'd assume it's the same amount of, I don't know. Whatever.
It's one of those things that just the sequels did wrong. I think in the the thing is, us Star Wars fans, we want an explanation, but this is what makes us mad. Is you want to make a good story, so
Yeah.
you put something like this. This is a great storytelling element. Dude, pull the room. I'm sure someone's going to be like, well, hold on. If this can work and this exists, we got to explain why. Like, think about your fan base. Like, it's just one of those things where you just don't think and you just write. And I think that's what pisses people off the most, because it's like, you have the resources. You have the internet.
Yeah.
You can do what we're doing right now to look this up. Could this be possible?
Yeah. And yeah, it's so dumb. From 5 minutes of us like half-heartedly looking up stuff, we get a general vibe for something that's already happened. Of course, it'd be harder to plan for
Right.
your writing, but still, you can understand public sentiment very easily.
Yeah.
It's just very interesting that they don't care.
Yeah, I don't know that we might have to do some research on that.
Yeah. So
Go ahead.
I feel like we've said this the past few episodes. We'll do some more research and then we'll come back. But really, now that Spencer's living up here, next week's episode might be kind of similar to this. We're just covering some topics.
Right, because we got 2 weeks till Ahsoka, so yeah.
But now that Spencer's moving up here, we'll be able to do Ahsoka and we'll be able to research together more. So it should be better.
We'll give you better content for sure. Because because here's the thing. When we started this, I mean, our conversations with Star Wars were pretty frequent because
Yeah.
we had content coming out. And so I think with us being up here together, it'll be a lot better to bounce things off, questions that we may have. So,
Yeah.
I mean, by questions we may have, it's usually me asking Austin a question. So,
It used to be, man. I used to know more stuff. I used to read Star Wars lore for fun and fan fiction and stuff, but now I just don't. I'm a busy guy.
dude, you just don't care.
I don't care.
Just-
I do care a lot.
All right. Well, we got about 48 minutes in, so I think we're good. I think they're tired of you listening to us. Also, if you're watching, check out the Boston caps.
Yeah, we're rocking similar hats.
Real quick, dude. I'm walking out. I had to go pee when I was in Provo. When I was driving up because I can't hold my bladder. This old lady's on a little scooter driving out, so I hold the door open for her because I'm not a menace. You know, I'm a nice
Sure.
guy, right? I'm a good person. She comes up, and I can tell, dude, sometimes I don't know what it is about me or old people. They love to talk to me.
Yeah.
They probably love talking to everyone, but if I'm in like 3 people, they look at me and start talking to me. I'm like, I don't know.
Right.
First off, I do not want to talk to you.
You look friendly.
I
That's all.
guess I need to be meaner.
Yeah.
And she stops. She looks at my face, and then she looks at my hat, and she's like, "What does that say?" And then she's like, "Is that a what?" She thought it was a Is that the Yankees?
Jeez.
No, it's a Red Sox hat. And this is the other thing I don't understand. Every time I wear a Red Sox hat, the first assumption is I'm from Boston.
Uh-huh.
Which I'm like, I could understand if it was a small market team, but this is a pretty big market team.
One of the 3 biggest teams in the
right.
MLB.
People all over the country are going to be wearing a Red Sox hat. Like, it's a huge market. Like, if I was wearing I want to say Orioles, but
Like a
something
Milwaukee
like that.
Brewers hat.
Yeah.
Never seen anybody wear that.
Exactly. That's going to be more, you got family ties. That's that's not a huge market. Anyway, so I'm like, no, I'm from here. She goes, I like that hat. She's like, I got tons of hats. I'm like, oh yeah? She's like, I got a Yankee hat when I went. I got a Coca-Cola hat. And then she starts listing off baseball hats. And I'm like, I want to die. I don't care.
Oh my gosh.
In the nicest way possible. I need to pee.
Yeah.
But I was like, okay, oh yeah, awesome. Like, I was like, how do I end this conversation without being rude? Anyways, the point is, she keeps going and she goes, well, I have all these hats because the thing is, I start chatting with people about their hats and they just give them to me. I'm like, baby, I'm not giving you this hat.
This is not coming off my head.
This is like a $50, $60 hat. I'm not. And second, really, people just give you, like, if I had, I can't think of a hat I would just give to someone.
Yeah, especially if she doesn't know the team, like no ties. Yeah. What, lady?
If she was like, oh, that's an awesome hat. My favorite color is black. My grandpa gave me a whole story. I still wouldn't give it to him, but I may think about it.
Yeah, you should have kicked her in the teeth, dude.
Dude, I thought
that's what she deserves.
I was going to grab duct tape and put it on her little controller and just have it go forward.
Right into the highway. I know the Maverick. Were you at Maverick in Provo?
No, it was a Chevron, but the highway was right there.
Yeah, sure.
I'm joking. I wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
Just wanted to end it on that story because it just reminded me of that.
Ending it on a light note. That's great.
Alrighty. Well, we can try it in person this time.
We can. Okay.
Probably going to be decent.
Okay. Thank you. I was going to. But then I was like, that's going to take too long. Thank you for being a disciple of the Force.